My girlfriend's mom said at family dinner, "Sweetheart, you're settling. Look at your sister, she married a doctor." My girlfriend nodded and said, "I know, but he'll do for now." That was the moment everything inside me went still. Not angry, not hurt, just cold. I didn't argue. I didn't flinch. I simply smiled, picked up my fork, and finished my meal like it was any other evening. No outburst. No reaction. But behind that calm expression, something in me snapped into crystal clarity. That night didn't break me. It revealed everything I needed to know. And by the time dessert was served, I had already made the decision. I would disappear from her life so quietly, so completely, they'd never even hear the door close. But fate had its own twist waiting, because just last week, the very sister they praised for marrying up, her doctor husband left her for his nurse. Funny how fast the tables turn. She'd been excited about the dinner all week. "It'll be fun," she said. "My mom's warming up to you." I should have known better. Her family dinners had always felt like interviews I wasn't qualified for. Smiles too tight, compliments laced with criticism. But I agreed anyway, hoping this one might be different. We arrived at her parents' place right on time, the table already set like a magazine spread. Her sister and her doctor husband were there too, dripping success from every inch of their tailored clothes and sparkling rings. We made small talk, passed dishes, and clinked glasses. I tried to be gracious, laughed at her dad's outdated jokes, listened attentively to her mom's stories. But then came the moment. Right as I was helping clear the plates, her mom leaned over and said with that syrupy tone only condescending people master, "Sweetheart, you're settling. Look at your sister, she married a doctor." The table went silent, except for her sister's smug little smirk. "And my girlfriend?" She nodded, smiled, and said, "I know, but he'll do for now." No hesitation. No defense. Just a casual dismissal of everything I was, as if I were a temporary inconvenience instead of someone who loved her deeply. In that moment, the dinner stopped being awkward. It became a mirror, showing me exactly how little I was valued. I don't think I'll ever forget the way she said it. Not just the words, but the casual tone, the careless shrug. "I know, but he'll do for now." Like I was a used car she was driving until something better came along. It didn't hit me all at once. It landed slow, like the kind of insult that seeps into your bones. Everyone at the table heard it, and no one flinched. Not her dad, not her sister, not even the man she was supposedly comparing me to. It was like I had been quietly assigned a role I never auditioned for, placeholder. She didn't look at me when she said it. She just picked at her salad like it was nothing, like I wasn't sitting inches away, like my presence didn't matter. And that hurt more than if she'd yelled at me. Indifference is colder than hate. At least hate means someone once cared. Up until that second, I had been trying. Putting in effort. Bringing flowers. Remembering anniversaries. Supporting her through bad days and cheering for her good ones. I thought we were building something real. But now I realized I was the only one building. That comment didn't just bruise my pride, it cleared my vision. I saw her and her family and our entire relationship for what it really was. Transactional, superficial, and temporary. She didn't lose me later. She lost me right then. I didn't argue. I didn't ask her to explain herself. I didn't even raise an eyebrow. I just smiled, wide enough to mask the sting, calm enough to keep everyone at that table comfortable. I picked up my fork, took another bite of mashed potatoes, and nodded politely when her father offered more wine. Inside, though, something shifted. Something final. While her mother carried on about what a catch her other daughter had landed, I tuned it all out. Not out of pettiness, but clarity. I realized I wasn't part of this family. I was a background character in their hierarchy, a prop in their status game. The doctor's son-in-law got applause. I got tolerated. And my girlfriend? She had just admitted to settling. Not in private. Not in a moment of weakness. But publicly, casually, with a side of green beans. I finished my meal, every last bite. No scene. No confrontation. Just dignity. Because I knew they weren't going to get a reaction. They didn't deserve one. I stood up, excused myself with a soft, "Thank you for dinner," and walked out. I didn't take dessert. I didn't look back. And I never came back. In that silence, I gave them something they couldn't manipulate: my absence. After that dinner, I disappeared, not with drama, not with fireworks, but with absolute, deafening silence. No texts. No calls. No explanations. I simply removed myself from the narrative they had written me into, where I was the placeholder boyfriend, the "he'll do for now" guy. If that's all I ever was to her, then disappearing was the loudest thing I could do. At first, I'm sure they thought I was sulking. Her mom probably told her to give me space. He's just being sensitive. Her sister likely laughed, thinking I'd come crawling back. But the thing is, I wasn't sulking. I was done. Quietly, completely done. And they didn't even realize it. She texted once, "Hey, are we okay?" I left it unread. Then a few days later, "Can we talk?" Unanswered. A call or two, ignored. I didn't ghost out of immaturity. I vanished out of principle. I gave them my presence, my respect, my sincerity, and they treated me like a runner-up prize in a family competition. So I took those things back. And in those silent weeks, something incredible happened. I felt lighter. Freer. No more pretending to impress people who measured worth by job titles and bank accounts. They didn't just lose a settle for boyfriend. They lost the man who would have given them loyalty, peace, and patience. And I lost nothing at all. While I stayed silent, their perfect picture started to crack. The sister, the one they all worshipped at that dinner table, married to the dream man, was about to get a lesson in reality. Her doctor husband, the one held up like some golden trophy I was meant to envy, wasn't exactly the loyal, buttoned-up gentleman they believed him to be. It started with whispers. A friend of a friend saw him out late, not in scrubs, not in a hospital, but at a bar, with a woman who wasn't his wife. Then there were photos. The same friend forwarded a snapshot of him holding hands with someone blonde, someone familiar. It didn't take long to figure it out. It was one of the nurses from his clinic. And the kicker? This had been going on for months. Quiet dinners after shifts. Weekend conferences that were really getaways. He didn't even try that hard to hide it. His wife, her sister, was blindsided. She found texts, hotel receipts, a separate email account. The whole thing unraveled faster than anyone expected. Suddenly, the fairy tale marriage they flaunted like a family crown was exposed for what it really was, a performance. And me? I watched from the sidelines, sipping my coffee with a quiet satisfaction. Because the same people who belittled me at dinner, who judged me for not wearing a white coat, were now dealing with the fallout of their prized son-in-law's affair. That doctor didn't just leave her for a nurse. He humiliated their entire illusion of marrying up. Turns out, titles don't guarantee loyalty. And the guy they mocked for being good enough for now was, in the end, the only one who never pretended. The same family that once smirked over dinner, throwing passive-aggressive comments like they were appetizers, was now crumbling from the inside out. It started with subtle tension, missed calls between sisters, unreturned messages, awkward silences during group chats. The glue that had once held their smug little circle together, the perfect image, the perfect marriages, the comparison games, was beginning to peel. Her sister was spiraling. The woman who once raised her wine glass and toasted to her doctor husband's devotion was now sleeping on her parents' couch, trying to piece together what had gone wrong. And suddenly, the same mom who sneered at me for not having a white coat was now whispering apologies behind closed doors, embarrassed that her prized son-in-law turned out to be just another cheater with a god complex. And my ex? She didn't know how to deal with the fallout. She reached out once, just once, with a vague, awkward message, "Crazy times lately, huh?" I left it on read. Because what was I supposed to say? Yeah, your mom's golden boy crashed the entire family narrative. Hope you're enjoying the silence. The house that mocked me for being average was now haunted by its own hypocrisy. The same living room where they laughed at me was now the scene of whispered fights and awkward truths. And me. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't vengeful. I was free, watching their tower of judgment fall brick by brick, all without lifting a finger. Funny how fast superiority turns into silence. She messaged me late at night, the kind of timing that screams regret. Hey, I've been thinking about you. I'm sorry for what happened at dinner. That wasn't fair. No explanation, no acknowledgement of her own words, just a vague apology cloaked in nostalgia. But what she didn't realize was that I had already processed it all. Her message wasn't a surprise. I expected it the moment things in her perfect little family started unraveling. What she never expected, though, was my silence. Not out of spite, but because I'd outgrown the conversation. That dinner table version of me, the one quietly absorbing humiliation while everyone else chuckled, he didn't exist anymore. Her sister's dream husband had already bailed, reality had set in, and suddenly, I didn't seem like such a placeholder anymore. But I wasn't interested in being anyone's fallback. Especially not hers. She sent more messages. Little ones. Hope you're well. Saw your old hoodie. Each one more desperate than the last, like bait cast into an empty sea. But I never replied. Because some things don't need closure. Some things don't need revenge. Just distance. And silence louder than anything I could have said. While they had placed their bets on prestige, titles, and what looked good on paper, I quietly rebuilt myself from the inside out. I wasn't a doctor. I didn't drive a luxury car or wear a white coat. But I was something they never understood. Self-aware, grounded, and finally, free from the need to prove anything to anyone. Their validation had once meant something to me, but after that dinner, after hearing myself reduced to "he'll do for now," I realized I didn't need to be anyone's stepping stone toward a fantasy life they curated for appearances. In the weeks that followed, I focused on myself, my goals, my peace, and the parts of me I had suppressed while trying to fit into their image of good enough. I read more. Traveled solo. Started that side business I'd put off. Got back into the gym, not out of insecurity, but as an act of love for myself. I wasn't trying to level up to match their standards anymore. I was done being a placeholder. I was building a life where I was the standard. They could chase their perfect image. Let them. But I wasn't going to be the guy someone settles for. I was the guy who finally stopped settling. For disrespect, for subtle digs, for a love that saw me as temporary. I wasn't their doctor. But I was my own cure. I didn't need to slam doors or burn bridges to get even. The best revenge? It came without a single move from me. Life handled it on my behalf, slowly, quietly, and with perfect timing. While I was busy healing and rebuilding, the fantasy life they flaunted began to unravel. Her sister, the one who had won the doctor, was suddenly back at her parents' house, tears replacing smug smiles, left behind by the very man they used to compare me to. The doctor traded vows for vanity and ended up with his nurse. Poetic, almost cliché, but real. And her mom? The one who looked down on me like I was a disappointment in a borrowed chair? She stopped smiling. The whispers about settling turned into awkward silences at family gatherings. Because now, the golden son-in-law they bragged about had vanished, and the man they dismissed was nowhere to be found. Not heartbroken, not bitter. Just gone. I didn't text back. I didn't show up to gloat. I didn't have to. The quiet success of my peace, the strength of my silence, and the fact that I didn't beg to be chosen, that was revenge enough. Their arrogance collapsed under its own weight. And I just kept moving forward. She once nodded in agreement when her mother called me settling. That night, they dismissed me as good enough for now. But as I sat alone weeks later, sipping coffee in a sunlit apartment that was finally mine and mine alone, I realized something powerful. I wasn't just good enough, I was too good to stay where I wasn't valued. While they measured worth in job titles and tax brackets, I quietly built a life around peace, growth, and self-respect. I didn't lash out. I didn't explain myself. I just left, and that silence screamed louder than any argument ever could. I heard later that the perfect doctor husband walked out. That the family dinners became awkward. That her mother no longer bragged about her daughters. And that my ex had started messaging mutual friends, testing the waters for reconnection. But I didn't answer. I didn't entertain the past. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I was grateful. Grateful that a dinner meant to diminish me turned out to be the meal that set me free. I wasn't good enough for them, because I wasn't meant to be theirs at all. I belonged somewhere I didn't need to prove my worth. And I found it within myself.